Have you ever been in a cross-cultural situation that was really uncomfortable? Have you ever found yourself in a situation surrounded by people who look differently than you, talk differently than you, maybe even think differently than you do? Maybe for you, it was on vacation to a different country or on a mission trip like our Mexico mission trip or Native American reservation trip. I spent the last year living in Ghana in West Africa, and it felt like every single day was one of those intense, complicated, and overwhelming cross-cultural experiences. Obviously, living in a different country, I was surrounded by people who seemed really different than me. And I'll never forget my very first Sunday in Ghana. One of my coworkers invited me to church with them. And you've got to understand, I was really excited to experience church in a new cultural context. But my coworker, they didn't give me any information about what to expect. They just told me, make sure you dress nice. So I showed up to church on Sunday morning with my extra nice polo and jeans on, and I had tons of excitement. But it did not take me long to realize I was out of my element. I showed up to church and there were like 500 people crammed inside a really small auditorium, and every single one of them was dressed like they were going to the prom. The men wore tuxedos, the women wore bedazzled floor-length dresses, and suddenly my nice polo and jeans didn't feel so nice. I showed up right on time, but obviously I was late because everyone else was already in their seats ready for the service to start. I walked in the room and it was painfully obvious that I was the only white person in the building. An usher came forward, took my arm, and guided me to the front row, the very front seat of the crowded auditorium. And that's when the fun began. Over the course of the next 5 hours, you heard that right, for 5 hours there were worship songs and dancing, 4 different offering times, a 2-hour message, more songs and more dancing. I remember getting back to the place I was staying after that service and thinking, what have I gotten myself into? What was I thinking? It was obvious that these people were not like me. They didn't look like me, they didn't talk like me, and they certainly didn't do church the same way I was used to. My brain instantly went into me versus them mode. And I'm ashamed to say that for a while, I thought my way of doing things wasn't just different, I thought it was better. I thought how I talked, how I thought, how I did church, how my people talked, how my people thought, how my people did church was better than how the Ghanaian people did it. But over the course of that year, God softened my heart and opened my eyes to the realities of my own pride and exceptionalism. As I made relationships with Ghanaian coworkers and community members, as I continued to attend churches that made me uncomfortable, I realized that God was active and present everywhere I looked. He was active and moving in the places I least expected him to be in. In Galatians chapter 3, Paul writes this. He says, "So in Christ Jesus, you are all children of God through faith. For all of you who were baptized into Christ have clothed yourselves with Christ. Now there is neither Jew nor Gentile, slave nor free, male or female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus." You see, Paul is writing about the lesson I had to learn the hard way. Once you've joined the family of believers, it doesn't matter how you look. It doesn't matter what your skin color is, what your education level is, how much money you made this last year. Once you've joined the family of believers and submitted your life to the authority of Jesus, there's no more me versus them. There's only us, because we are all one in Christ Jesus.